Hi book lovers, it's Jenny at Julia Baby Jen, and this is my February TBR. Okay, I'm actually shooting this and playing this a little early this month, so it may change a bit, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be what my TBR will be for February. As of right now, I'm on track to finish my January TBR, and I actually read 2 extra books that were not even in the TBR. So I'm doing really good, and I'm really hoping I do finish all the books on there so I don't have to throw those off into February, because my February TBR is kind of big. It's just kind of the way it landed, and I'm trying to keep these smaller, so I'm hoping I can read all these books. Now, some of these are really short, so I think that'll help me. But in January, I had a lot of really big books, but I'm hoping. So February, my author of the month this month is going to be Rainbow Rowell, who I adore. And I kind of wanted, I guess, more of a contemporary romance type author for the month of February because of Valentine's Day. I thought I'd be more in the mood for that. And so I was kind of going through some of my contemporary authors I need to get caught up on, and I couldn't really decide, and then it hit me, Rainbow Rowell. I'm not super behind on her reads, but I love her books so much. I knew that I would really enjoy having her as my author of the month of February, and it's a shorter month, so I don't need to have that many books to read. So my plan is 3 books from Rainbow Rowell. I may reread Eleanor and Park if I have time, but I don't think I'm going to. That's my favorite that I've read of her so far. I love that book so much. And actually my daughter has it right now. I lent it to her. But I do have it on my Kindle if she doesn't return it in time and I want to read it. So I may reread that. But I'm not actually throwing that on the TBR because I don't think I'll have time for it. So my goal for Rainbow Rowell is I want to read Attachments, which I've heard is really fun, and I haven't read this yet. So yes, excited for Attachments. Then I'm going to reread Fangirl. I loved this book so much. I do have this on my Kindle too, but I checked it out from the library because I had to go to the library to get this book, Carry On. This is kind of the main reason I wanted to read Rainbow Rowell this month, is I really want to read Carry On. I keep hearing wonderful things about it, and it's been, you know, I haven't even bought it yet, and I've wanted it since it came out. But my library has it, so I just grabbed it from them for right now to read. And I'll probably end up buying it if I like it at some point. But so yeah, so that's kind of my plan for my Rainbow Rose is Attachments, reread Fangirl to refresh myself a little bit on that, and then read Carry On. And if I have time at the end of the month, I'll reread Eleanor and Park, which honestly would not take me long to do. So I may just end up doing it because I just love that book so much. I have a couple of review books to read for the month of February from author Benjamin Ellison. I have A Land Without Color and The Great Sugar War. This is a MG series, kind of a fantasy, adventure, zany kind of series, and it looks really good, and I'm excited to read these. So yay. I went ahead and threw a book on there that's been sitting on my shelves for well over a year that I've been wanting to read for so long, and that is Their Fractured Light by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. I thought with February, again, Valentine's Day, this would be a perfect read. It's science fiction, which I love so much, but it's also a romance, and I just love this series. So I'm excited to finally read the last book in this series. And I was just looking through my bookshelves one day like, what do I want to read next? And yeah, I want to read this. So I threw this on my TBR for February. And then I'm going to go ahead, I just recently bought the last 2 books in the Raven Boys series. I had read the 3rd one, but I didn't own it yet, and I wanted to own all of them, so I just bought those. So I knew that one of my goals for 2017 is I'm going to reread that series and finish the last book so I can finish that series. So I'm going to go ahead and start that by rereading The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I love this series. I don't know how to describe this series. It is so unique. There is nothing out there like it that I've ever read, and I don't see that there ever will be. It's kind of a magical realism slash fantasy slash just a little bit of paranormal series, but it has a contemporary vibe to it, which is why I call it more magic realism, I think, than just fantasy, because it is our own world, but there's also all this stuff in our world that we're not aware of, and so it's a lot more magic realism in my opinion. And it follows, the Raven Boys are these 4 boys, and Blue, who they kind of meet up, and these 4 boys have been on a quest to find this dead Welsh king, which is supposed to be buried somewhere in their area. I think they live in, I'm not really sure where they live. I'm sure it says it's somewhere in here, but it's like over on the East Coast somewhere. New England kind of area, I think, is where it actually takes place. But they live in a small town, and somewhere in their area, this dead Welsh king is supposed to be buried, and if whoever finds him, he grants them 1 wish. So they're on this quest to find it. Meanwhile, so these 4 boys have already been looking for this king when this book starts, and they're actually, they go to this private school, and they're very smart and very different characters. And at first, you don't really, I fell in love with one of them right away, and the other 3 I really did not as much, but then they kind of grow on you. They're very flawed, real characters. They're very strange, and I love the characters in this. Meanwhile, Blue is the daughter of a psychic, and her whole family is psychics, and she has been prophesized from her birth, I believe, that whoever her first kiss will be, that boy will die. So she's grown up with that knowledge, and so she tries to not fall in love or have crushes on boys because she doesn't want to kiss one and then they die. So she kind of gets tangled up with these Raven boys unexpectedly, because she's following this ley line, because, like I said, her family is magic, and they kind of come across, and so the boy, supposedly, that's going to die because she kisses him. So their destinies kind of become tangled up, and she ends up kind of helping these boys with this thing. They kind of become friends, but it's just very different and very interesting, and all kinds of other things happen along the way. It starts out as this journey for this Welsh king, and while that is still the premise of the whole book, and they're still looking for that, other things start happening, and they unleash other magic, and it becomes incredibly crazy. It's just so deep, so interesting, so well written. I just love this series so much. So anyway, I'm really excited to reread it and finish the series. So I'm going to reread The Raven Boys in February. Then I am doing I'm doing a 4 seasons challenge for the year. And so I have to read 4 winter books. And so one of the challenges for the winter books is to read a winter romance. So I picked Let It Snow, which is a bind-up of 3 Christmas teen romances by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Miracle. So I've had this book forever, and I've been wanting to read it sometime in the winter, and I haven't. So I'm going to read it in February. Perfect time. Then I have some library books. Another book for that challenge is I need to read a winter book where they're on like a winter break or winter vacation type of thing. So I picked up this book, February Fever, which is an adult mystery. There's apparently a mystery for every month of the year in this one. It's called Murder by Month Mystery by Jess Laurie. And this one happens on a train while they're traveling across the country. So that will fill that requirement, and it looks interesting. And I've kind of been in the mood for mysteries. So I have The Woman Who Rides Like a Man by Tamora Pierce, who I adore. This is the 3rd book in the Atlanta, or Song of the Lioness series. So this is about Atlanta. This is kind of the first series, I guess, really in her magical world fantasy. And I really want to finish it, so 3rd book. And then I have Ever the Hunted by Erin Summerhill, which I just happened to see at the library and grab because this cover just fascinates me, and I've heard this is really good fantasy. I am really excited to read this. So that right there was quite a few books, but I'm not done yet. I still am doing my Pick It For Me challenge in my Goodreads group. This is a challenge that I actually run, and you get a partner and they pick books for you. And so I gave them Kindle books that I wanted to read, and I will have 3 left to read yet. The Queen of the Tearland by Erica Johnson. I have been really excited to read this series. I've heard it's really good. The last book just came out, so it's time to read it now that they're all out. So I'm really excited to read this. I do actually own this in hardback as well, so I'm not sure if I'm going to read it on my Kindle or in hardback. Either way, it'll be a fun read. The Sweet Gum Tree by Catherine Allred, which is a adult romance, and I've heard is just amazing. It's one of those books that a lot of people have recommended to me. I don't really know much what it's about, but it's supposed to be really good. So I think it was on sale one time, so I bought it. So I'm finally going to read that. And finally, I don't know if you can really see that. Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone, which is a contemporary about a girl who has OCD and trying to find her place in the world type of story. And I've been wanting to read this for a really long time, so I'm glad that someone picked it for me to read. So those are my pick it for me books I'm hoping to read in February. I'm supposed to finish all those by the end of February, so it's another challenge that I really do need to do. All right, and then all that is left is to pick out of my book jar, which I'm very excited. This is my favorite part about these videos. So, got my book jar here. Got some hair on there for my cat, I think. The other day, when I was at work, my cat knocked this off my table, and the slip of papers went everywhere. I think I got them all picked up. I really hope I got them all back in the jar. I guess at the end of the year, if I still have a whole bunch of books on there and no slips of paper, I will know that I missed some. But we'll just do the best we can. I didn't really want to go through all of them to find out. So let's see what we're going to read. I picked 3 books out of this. I have 41 books on the shelf. So my goal is to pick 3 every month to read. And then hopefully I'll read a couple more. Actually, Attachments by Rainbow Rowell was one of the books that was on that shelf. So I already picked that off. So that'll help me there. All right. First I have, 80 Days. This is a nonfiction book that I'll pull off and show off here in a minute to talk a little more about. I needed a nonfiction book, I guess, for February. I don't have one. The Beauty of Darkness by Mary E. Pearson. Actually, I have not read The Heart of Betrayal yet, which is also in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back and I'm going to read The Heart of Betrayal instead. I have series in here, like if I pick a book that's later in the series that I haven't read, I'll just pick the first book that I haven't read off of that instead. And The Truth About Forever by Sarah Dessett. So let me go grab those books really quick. Okay, so first we have The Heart of Betrayal by Mary E. Pearson. Again, I pulled The Beauty of Darkness, which is the 3rd book, and I haven't read the 2nd book yet, so I will read the 2nd book instead. This is a sequel to A Kiss of Deception. This is a fantasy world where there's a lot of twists and turns, and you're not really sure who's who in this kind of a thing, so the reader has to figure that out, and that's really fun. So I actually did start this. I got it from the library a few months ago, but I had to return it before I finished it, so I'm like a third of the way through it, so I'll just pick up from there probably. I remember what was going on. This is one of those fantasies that really does stick with you, at least as far as I'm concerned. And then 80 Days by Matthew Goodman. This is a nonfiction account of Nellie Bly and Elizabeth Bisland's history-making race around the world. So this looks like a really fun read. I picked this up at the Dollar Tree actually, and it looks really interesting, and it has a map inside that shows their race. So I'm excited to read this. I think this will be a fun read. And last is Sarah Dessett, The Truth About Forever, which is another contemporary, which is good for February, I guess. I just threw it on there because I've had this book forever. I got it at Ollie's while I was on vacation in Nashville a couple years ago, and I haven't read it, so I wanted to read it. I don't really know what this one particularly is about, but Sarah Dessett's books are typically about coming of age. There's usually some kind of drama going on with the girl involved, the main character, and usually they take place like in North Carolina, so they're good beach reads. It's not beach season, but that's okay. I'll still enjoy reading it. So that's my February TBR. Kind of ambitious. Leave me comments below on what you're planning on reading in February, or if you want to talk about any of these books. I hope everyone has a good day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.